Nestlé was established in 1866 with the foundation of the Anglo-Swiss Condensed Milk Company. In 1867, Nestlé's founder, Henry Nestlé, launches his flour with milk in Vevey, Switzerland. It combines cow milk, wheat flour, and sugar, and Nestlé developed it for the consumption of infants who cannot be breastfed. In the 1970s, the company diversifies into pharmaceuticals and cosmetics. It is during this time that the company starts to attract criticism from activist groups that allege that its marketing of infant food is unethical. In 1977 is when these activist groups call to boycott Nestlé's product. Currently, Nestlé has more than 2,000 brands ranging from global icons to local favorites and are present in 186 countries worldwide. Some of the products that Nestlé has are coffee and tea, beverages, cereal, baby food, chocolate, and seasonings, just to name a few.
One of Nestle's first steps towards positive business trajectory was making sure they implemented policies based on the WHO code. This was a code that was published by the World Health Organization in 1981, known as the International Code of Marketing Breast Milk Substitutes. So Nestle had a process which started with, first making sure that they were in compliance with the code. Second is good governance, so making sure that their distributors were also in compliance with the code. Being transparent with their customers, making sure that there was constructive engagement, and then always making sure that there was continuous improvement. So after making sure that they were in compliance with the WHO code, Nestle started to include more policies and restrictions. Some of these included making sure that there was no free supplies of infant formula to hospitals, no free samples to infant mothers, and no incentives to healthcare professionals or Nestle distributors for the purpose of promotion. Infant formula marketing staff was also not allowed to have direct contact with infant mothers. These were practices that had got them in trouble before, and they made sure, in order to have positive business trajectory, to make sure that it was taken care of and not occurring again. They also had the Healthcare Professionals Code, which is the HCP code released in 2019, which goes back to making sure that business was being conducted with healthcare professionals, accordingly to the code. There were some instances where employees were not in compliance, but Nestle made sure to get that resolved quickly by simply having a meeting with them and making sure that they were informed. So Nestle started to adapt to legislative and commercial contexts globally. Most of the policies stayed the same, but in other countries they were a little bit strict than others. So they started to do more and make sure that in whatever country they were in, business was being conducted accordingly. Nestle also states that they continue to adapt and improve on their policies, and that there is always some room for improvement to make sure that everything is being done in compliance with the WHO code.
All right, next up we have the internal documents, and starting with the CEO, it's Mark Schneider, and he's been there since 2017. Next up we have the chairman, Paul Buckle, who was the former CEO. And last up we have the vice chairman, Henry DeCastries, who was the former CEO of Global Financial Services. And the strategy is that they're going to focus their energy and resources where unlocking the power of food, where it can make the greatest difference to the lives of peoples and pets. And at the same time, they're going to be trying to protect and enhance the environment. And obviously, like any other company, they're going to try and generate significant value for the shareholders and their stakeholders. And just to sum up the principles for their employees really quick, they want to avoid any conduct that can damage Nestle's reputation, and they want them to act legally and honestly, and also put the company's interests ahead of their personal agendas or other interests. And to the right of the slide, we have the code of conduct, which is just a giant list of what they expect and what they demand from the employees in terms of how they act. So moving on to one of the legal issues that Nestlé has faced is the infant formula scandal, and I've broken it down in 3 parts here. First part is the promotion to the public, where they've offered discounts and free gifts with the purchases. They also broke a giant law in the food corporation industry because they are in direct contact with pregnant women and mothers, and you're not allowed to do that. They were also caught dressing up women advertised to be nurses, but they were not qualified at all to be giving their approval. They were also caught giving free supplies to healthcare facilities, as well as bribery. And the final part is they were coming up with fake taglines like Mothers Trust Nestle, and even got caught saying things like in Hong Kong, their baby milk powder is promoted as healthier because they were free from vanilla flavorings, even though they were caught selling vanilla flavored formulas elsewhere.
Now, just a short summary. Their outrage did start in the early 70s, where Nestle was accused of getting third world mothers hooked on infant formula, which was less healthy and more expensive than breast milk. Although they've had this daunting scandal for the past 40 years, Nestle still remains the largest infant formula company in the world, with 20% of the market share, and this market is worth about $11.5 billion now. The World Health Organization, also known as the WHO, claims that products targeting older infants undermine nutrition and breastfeeding, which obviously we saw in the 70s when these babies were being killed and dying from drinking formula which wasn't giving them the necessary nutrients. Now, countries are banning infant formula adverts claiming to be breastfeeding substitutes, and the reason why is because there's a clear difference between breastfeeding and infant formula, which Nestle now agrees to. Nestle has updated its marketing policies several times since the incident, which it now admits breastfeeding is optimal. It has also established a whistleblower system known as Speak Up, which is ran by a third party, and this was created to report any non-compliance. Now, there are reports annually on compliance, and as of 2020, there were 681 messages that year of potential non-compliance, which 68 of them were substantiated. Over the last 40 years, Nestle has been trying to establish themselves as a responsible company. Now, in 2016, they ranked first in the Access to Nutrition Index. Nestle is also the first infant formula manufacturer which was included in the FTSE for Good Index. And the FTSE for Good Index stands for Financial Times Stock Exchange, which is an index that is a collection of socially responsible ESG stock indexes. And ESG stands for Environment, Social, and Governance. And what this means is it highlights companies that score highly in corporate social responsibility. So companies that look out for the environment, companies that are socially aware of what's going on, and overall responsible companies.